So this is the first thing you're gonna do when you get your pattern. Now I may have drawn some extra lines on here, and that's okay. If you are a beginner level rug hooker, I mean, this is your first ever project, the first thing you wanna do is make sure that you're working on something that you're comfortable with. So you can use hoops, but just know that hoops don't have stability. So when you're on a frame, if you can borrow one or you find one used or you can get one at a good price, like these are all custom made for the shop. They normally retail for $50. I know if you go to Doorbell and Mills, you can get them for $50. This one's just not, this one's nice because it's designed to sit on my lap. So I put it down. I can keep all my doodads and things stored underneath here when I'm not working. But the idea is that when you have a project like this, that you be comfortable, and that is applicable to punch needle as well. So I'm working on monk's cloth. It's a kind of a nice soft cotton. You can see it's balanced. I'm going to be working on flowers, the circles. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take my fabric, and this is half the challenge, and get it snug. You have these pricklies, oh gosh, what are these called? My brain stopped, but the point is that you have a place where you can wrap it, and once it attaches to the bristles, it should stay. And if you find that they're poking through and annoying you, put a towel right there. Now these aren't as aggressive as some of the older frames that I have at home, and you can see I'm just gonna tighten it, and I want it to be bouncy. I want it to be like a drum, tight but a little bit bouncy. With hooking, you always start from the top, okay? So when I say that, that's the wrong way for me to put it. You're working from the top. You are gonna control your fabric from the bottom, but you're always going to be on the top. That's what I mean to say, and that's an important correction. So I've chosen some weird colors. These are my colors to play with today, a little bit more spring versus summer. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna work in my center. As a beginner hooker though, I would recommend, if you're going to do your center, don't worry about going in the round so much and doing a perfect circle. What I'm gonna do is, because I'm right-handed and note I marked my hook here, is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna grab my fiber, okay? That looks so easy, voila, no problem. Let's reapproach this where you can see, hopefully, what it is that I'm doing. So I have my hook poking through, you see that? Now, I'm not able to hold my frame the way I want to, but I take that hook end and I'm pulling on that fabric and I pull it through. So again, I'm gonna find my hole. Now you don't have to do this upside down, but this is just for visual aid. But you see how that loop grabs? And once I've got that, then I can hook, okay? And it's hard for me because I don't have someone here right now to help me, but I'm gonna try and do this with it facing backward. So, which is not as easy as it looks. But I'm going to take my hook and I'm gonna grab my fabric. I'm gonna pull my loop through. Okay, so see my hands? That's what it looks like. And I'm gonna take some pictures as well to go with this video. All right, so traditionally, this is a size 7 cut. A size 7 cut is 7/32s. So if an 8 cut is a quarter, 7 cut is gonna be a 0.2165 or something in that math work. I have it written down, so I will make sure that that is included. But I'm going to try and make sure that my loops are pretty much about the same. Okay, the height would equal the width, so they're about the same 50-50 split there. You get it going. Oops, I went over one. So the idea is that it's going to force you to skip So every other, because it's a slightly bigger piece. Now that's a straight line. Okay, so what's gonna happen is I wanna stay and turn it now. Notice what I just did with my hook. This is a straight, I turned it. Then I'm gonna take my hook again, and I'm staying on my dotted line, and I'm picking it up, and I'm gonna turn it. So I am using my hook to guide my fabric loop. So I can also turn my frame, which is fantastic. And I lost a little height on this one, so I'm gonna finagle with them just a little bit, and I'm gonna turn it this way because I'm at the bottom of my flower. Now I'm more comfortable keeping my frame the way it is, and I know well enough that I can pick my loop up and I can tug with it. But again, perfectionism, not important here. I'm gonna scoot myself back. I'm gonna turn this a little bit so that you can see what I'm up to. And I'm going to pick my loop up. I'm going to pick it up. I'm gonna bring it. And I'm just gonna keep going. And notice that my hook is going in the direction that I want my loop to go. So that's a big deal right there. See that? Do you see how it's turning? How that loop is turning around? Now I'm in a place where I can turn my frame around, and of course my flower is upside down. That's the beauty of a frame like this, is it's so balanced and so wonderful. And again, look at I can go straight, but now I'm gonna be going in the wrong direction. So I'm gonna turn my hook to go in the direction that I want my loop to go. So again, I find myself back here, and I'm gonna turn my arm a little bit and work with my hook before I flip anything around, because I'm comfortable enough. Okay, I went too far in. If you fight with that monk's cloth or any fabric foundation that you're on, that means that you're in the wrong loop, or wrong hole. Sorry, lots of loops and doodads here. And I'm gonna come back around and see I'm fighting it a little bit. Now the reason I'm accepting this is because I'm getting close to my beginning. Now, with that said, you always finish where you started, and you always start where you finished in this situation like this. And hopefully you can see that. I know that I'm kind of getting away from my video. I'm actually, where this end is, my loop is in there. I'm gonna pull it up just enough. And of course, being true to form, I forgot a pair of scissors for this demonstration. So, but we're gonna leave that there so you know what's going on. But that's basically how you turn a circle. I use my hook, and this is marked to let you know that you wanna always keep your hooky end up. I use my hook to define the direction of my loop and coming around, okay? And then I start where I finish, and I don't worry about tilting out, because when I go back in to put my next line in, that's okay. I'm gonna finish this first, and then I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna do this. But in the meantime, let's do a recap. I want you to watch one more time. I'm gonna try and hook upside down, and I will use my fabric here. When you're grabbing, okay, and don't fall off my lap, when you're grabbing your fabric, you're gonna pull it through with your hook. So the hook is important, but you always bring that end through. So let's say I'm gonna go through the next hole. There's my hook. It's actually facing up, even though I know I'm doing this upside down. And see how I'm grabbing that and I'm pulling it through. And I'm gonna go to the next one, and I'm doing this upside down, and I can't see where I'm going, but I know I have a loop. So when you come through, it literally is the scooping action. So how you wanna hold your hands is probably the most important detail. Here's my wonky loops. So for Allison, yes, you can make your loops as big as you want to make them. So I don't know if you can see that, but those are pretty wild loops right there, sight unseen. But when I'm holding my yarn, see if I can flip that skirt up there. I don't know if I can get that to look up a little bit. When I'm holding my yarn, I actually hold it between my two fingers. There's other methods like a crochet method where you run it over. You don't need to worry about that. What you want to do is you want to get comfortable with holding the fabric and not holding it so tight that you can't get access to it with the hook. So here I am. I know where my fabric is. I'm going to pull it through. And I'm actually working with my fingers to get that fabric. See how my hands are kind of turning a little bit? Get my fabric through, and I'm going to grab again. Okay, so that's basically my recommendation for holding your hands. For the hook, I like Anne with an Ease recommendation, which is to put a little tape on top, and I use painter's tape, and that way you know that your hook, and I don't know if you can see that, that your hook, where that marks it, is that your hook is straight up. So that when you go back in, I'm gonna pull all that out. Don't be worried about this, because this will happen too if you're in the wrong column. If you go into the next column over, watch what happens. It pushes that fabric right back over again. So this is what I love about monk's cloth, and I just love about fabric in general, anything woven, is that it's so movable and so transformational that you can pretty much do anything you want to. If you're hooking with cotton, or you're working with wool, or you want to work with plastic bags, anything is possible. You can also spray it, get a little bit wet, and kind of rework it back into how you want it. But that's part one of our little journey here. Okay? All right, so I'm going to hit pause and do some snapshots.